Chapter 11. Into the moor. The sun was higher now, but it offered little comfort. Daniel's legs were scraped and stiff, his muscles screamed with every step. The mud and water coated them, and the cold gnawed through his clothes, turning them into rags of frozen cloth. Lily stayed close, wobbling with each step, her knees raw and her skin split and bleeding above the knees. Her eyes, once wide with simple fear, were now hollowed with exhaustion. They moved quietly, knowing the shadows had learned not only to test but also to track them. The forest around them had changed. Where the trees had once been spaced, now there was a dense thicket of gnarled trunks and low branches, curling like grasping fingers, and the roots twisted across the forest floor, snagging and tangling, a trap for the unwary. Mist rose from the earth, thick and choking, curling around Daniel's ankles like living things. He glanced behind them. The shadows weren't following openly this time. They are stalking silently. The shapes glided between the trees, half-formed and faceless. They moved like smoke and shadow combined. "They are hiding," Lily whispered. Daniel nodded. "Yes, I see that." Daniel looks behind them. He doesn't know what they are going to do when the dawn comes. A scream shattered the forest, and the birds scattered in the air. It came from somewhere deeper in the forest, distant yet close enough to make Daniel's stomach knot. He froze and his muscles locked. He pulled Lily behind him. The scream was human, but it felt chilling and unnatural. It ended abruptly, replaced by silence that pressed in like a physical weight. "Danny," Lily said out loud with a shuddering fear in her little voice. "I know, don't think about that. We have to move, Lily," Daniel whispered, while it feels as if his throat is tightening. The forest seems to close around them. The mist thickened, moving in waves that seemed to anticipate their steps. The branches scraped their faces. Roots threatened to trip them at every step. Daniel realized something. The shadows had manipulated the environment. The forest itself had become part of the hunt. Movement flickered at the edge of his vision. A shadow detached from the mist, humanoid but grotesquely elongated, with arms stretching unnaturally long. Its fingers tapered to points, scraping the ground and testing. Daniel grabbed a branch and swung. The shadow recoiled, almost deliberately, as if testing the child's courage, but it did not retreat far. Another tendril stretched forward, brushing Lily's shoulder. The pain shot through her and she cried out. Daniel lunged to cover her, but the shadow withdrew only slightly. It was learning how far it could push before forcing them into panic. They finally stumbled into a clearing, and the shadows stayed behind the trees, for the sun was still helping where it could. Beneath the trees was the mist, an eerie and silver glow, and the shadows were watching them moving behind the trees. Across the clearing, more shadows, not advancing directly but surrounding and waiting. The mist itself seemed alive under the trees, flowing like waves on the ocean. Lily's small legs faltered, and the ground beneath her was slick and muddy, sucking at her shoes. Daniel lifted her for a moment, and then realized even that wasn't enough. The shadows were manipulating their footing, shaping the terrain against them. A deep growl rolled across the clearing from the tree line. Underneath was a shadow that formed into a big, dark, hairless hound with long, black shadow teeth. The fallen tree cracked beneath his weight, and Daniel barely caught Lily before she stumbled into the mud beside him. His chest heaved. The growl behind them deepened, guttural and hungry. He forced himself up, eyes darting to the tree line. The clearing was ending. They'd have no choice but to dive into the forest again. Every instinct screamed against it. The trees themselves felt like teeth waiting to close, but staying meant death. "Run," he rasped. They plunged back beneath the canopy. Branches whipped his arms and tore at his clothes. The growl followed closer now, echoing through the trees. At times, Daniel thought he saw it, a massive shape slipping between trunks, all muscle and shadow, eyes like coals, teeth as black as obsidian. They didn't stop. Couldn't. Time bled away in gasps of breath and the thunder of their footsteps. Only when the sound faded, swallowed by distance or by the forest itself, did Daniel dare to slow down. His legs shook. Lily clung to his hand, silent tears streaking her dirty cheeks. He knew better than to think they had escaped. The hound was patient. It was always waiting. The hours seemed to pass in that limbo of fear. When they finally stumbled upon the stream, Daniel's heart lurched. Water, there was a chance again. Maybe even safety. Mist rose from the surface like a veil, curling around their legs. They stumbled over roots in the stream, slipping in the mud. The shadows flowed around them. adjusting to every movement, every scream, and every misstep. The stream wound on, shallow and twisting through the trees, and Daniel led Lily along the bank. His heart was racing each time the mist shifted, and he half expected the hound's black teeth to gleam through. The shadows trailed them from the opposite bank, pacing and patient. They knew the night was coming, and then the forest would be theirs, and Daniel would not be able to save Lily. Hours blurred in damp cold, the forest thickened, pressing closer, forcing them uphill. The stream narrowed until it was little more than a thread, trickling over rocks, and then it was gone altogether, as if the roots swallowed it up. The water was gone. Daniel's chest tightened. No more water means no more barrier between them and the shadows, the hound. The dark was coming. The hound's growl echoed from behind them, deeper and reverberating through the ground. Lily stumbled again, and Daniel caught her. The trees thinned, and the air grew sharper. Suddenly, the ground dropped away before them. A cliff. The forest ended in a sheer wall of stone, and the mist was curling upward from the abyss below them. There was no escape route and no place to hide. Daniel pressed Lily tighter against him, trying to assess the drop. It wasn't so far, maybe enough to survive, but the rocks were slick, and the mist was blinding. He had no way to know what was lurking below. The shadows appeared at the cliff edge, circling and testing, probing. The tendrils stretched toward them, curling into the fog. The first tendril lashed toward Daniel's shoulder, trying to push them off the cliff. Daniel ducked and caught Lily's hand, and jumping to the side, the earth crumbled slightly, the mud sliding into the void. Daniel pressed Lily against him. "We go together, little bug. Step by step, and don't look down, don't stop either." Lily nodded silently, her whole body was trembling with fear. They moved along the cliff's edge, slipping through mud and the branches tearing at their fragile skin. Every sound echoed. Every shadow is following them. The hound is only heard but not seen yet again. Daniel stumbled and caught himself on roots and rocks. Lily screamed as a tendril brushed her back, tearing her sleeve and scratching her skin. The pain and fear are exhaustion combined into a weight they never imagined. They moved, step by step, crawling, running, slipping, and dragging themselves towards some undefined hope. The first sign of dusk is pale and weak. The night is on its way. They had survived this stage of the hunt, but the cost was high. Blood, scratches, and exhaustion. The forest had claimed pieces of them already, and the shadows were patient. Daniel holds Lily's hand tightly, feeling her small, trembling fingers. They were children in a nightmare. The world had no mercy, and death had already been shown to them. But they moved still, step by step, towards some fragile, fleeting hope. The hunt was far from over.